Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey. Many of you have asked me, hey, can we get a mock draft? Well, now that it is the Cowboys bye week, I figured it was the perfect time to unveil our first 7-round Dallas Cowboys mock draft of the season. Now, a couple housekeeping notes here to get into before we really get going with the actual picks. I based it on the current draft order using the Draft Network simulator. So the Cowboys, well, they're picking number 3. I did not do trades, at least in this one. More on that coming up in a little bit. And I tried to make things as realistic as possible. It's still very early. A bunch of stuff's going to change. I picked some players who may not turn pro, whatever. It's early. I got Antoine Winfield in round 4 last year. I don't know why people complain about the draft being hard. It's easy. Just take the good football players. So with that in mind, 7-round Cowboys mock draft. Pick number 3. I went with Patrick Surtain, the cornerback out of Alabama. Now, I could have gone Penny Sewell here, although I will make note, I ran the simulator like 8 times in a row, and Penny Sewell went number 2 every time, the Jacksonville Jags, but it's my show. I just could have done it and not told you guys, but I'm being honest here with who was actually on the board. I would still go defensive back. Again, no trades. We'll get to that here in just a second. I think that's a bigger impact position than going with an offensive lineman in Penny Sewell, who if Tyron Smith comes back healthy, you're moving him to guard for the first year or 2 years or 3 years, and you're spending a top 3 pick on a guard? I don't know about that one. Surtain this year for Alabama has been awesome. Now, he's allowed, I think, 50 yards in 0 games this season, actually. Already has 1 pick, 6, 2 pass breakups. He looks the part of a legit number 1 corner. Now, there might be some elite speed concerns, but he can play man-to-man. He can stick in coverage. He can be your number 1 corner. Trevon Diggs can be your number 2. And now your secondary feels a lot more complete and a lot fuller overall. Because remember, Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, 2 of your top 4 corners, they're free agents this upcoming season. So, of course, we'll know what happens in free agency before the actual draft. But I think going cornerback early is a good decision by the Cowboys. Maybe a bit early for Caleb Farley, so I went with Surtain at number 3. Now, you guys know that I am on team trade down. That is what I desperately want to do. So what should the Cowboys do in the first round? Type K for keep the pick or type T for trade down. I did not do trades in this particular mock draft. However, if you want me to do a 7-round mock draft with trades for the Dallas Cowboys, I need you guys to share this video on social media. The draft stuff doesn't always do as well as some of our other videos here at the Cowboys Report, and I know it's early in the process. I get it. But if you want a mock draft with trades, be it in a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, I need you guys to share this video, social media, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Just hit share and help me out. Let's go to round 2, and look, in general, this defensive line class is not great, or at least it's not great right now. Again, it is only November. Things can and probably will change, but I like Christian Barmore. There's a lot of potential there. He's shown some flashes, 11 pressures already in the 4 games he's played. Was slowed a little bit earlier this year coming off of a knee injury. I would have loved to have made this Marvin Wilson, who entering this year, I was like, oh yeah, he's going to be a round 1 pick, top 10 guy. He has not been very good this year. He's now out for the year with an injury. He was on the board for this pick, but I went with the Bama product instead. And again, in 4 games this year, look, 2.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks, plus 3 pass breakups. That does carry some value. Now, I think Barmore, again, fits a little bit more in the same role of a Neville Gallimore of, hey, we're going to make this guy into more of a 3 technique. There will still be some 2-gapping responsibilities with the way Mike Nolan, assuming he comes back, has run his defense this year. But I think Barmore's done that plenty at Alabama. I think he can be a good fit in it. Antoine Woods is a restricted free agent. And Tyrone Crawford's not going to be back at anywhere near his contract cost. So you're going to want another option when it comes to a rotational, more of a pass-rushing defensive tackle. I think a Gallimore-Barmore combo, which, hey, look, it rhymes, also brings you some very intriguing upside. Both players still a little bit raw, but Barmore's got explosive traits. He has a lot of potential. He's only a redshirt sophomore. I really like the size that he brings as well. I will gamble on him at the beginning of round 2, because I'm desperately trying to find a good defensive tackle. And if I don't take one here, because I ran a bunch of different simulations, I didn't like what I was getting. So let me know in the comments what players you want the Cowboys to draft. Now, it doesn't have to be round 1, doesn't have to be round 2. Just let me know what players, and it can even be some later sleeper guys, that you want the Cowboys to take. If you are going later, one little minor request, I would like you guys to also include which particular round you're trying to take them in, just in case I see a weird name. I don't think you're thinking of them in round 1. This will be the pinned comment on today's video, so if you get the ad break, scroll on down and get your votes in. Now, I passed on linebacker round 1 and round 2 because it's a linebacker. I don't want to overinvest in the position again. But I could not pass up on CHAZZ SURRATT in round 3, the linebacker out of North Carolina. It is a need for the Cowboys, make no mistake about it. Now, SURRATT is a quarterback-turned-linebacker, which you don't often see in college football or in the NFL. I like him as an athlete, and there are certainly flaws in his game. Namely, he's missed too many tackles. There are times that he just, even though he's a quarterback and can identify pretty well, sometimes the run fits aren't always ideal, and the missed tackles, as I mentioned. But this year for UNC, in 7 games, 54 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. He's a very good blitzer. I am willing to gamble on him as a potential Jalen Smith replacement. Now, maybe you keep Smith for a year and you can kind of rotate them all in together or whatever, but Sean Lee's a free agent, might end up being a coach for the Cowboys next year. I think SURRATT has a lot of upside because he hasn't played linebacker for very long. So again, I'm aiming high and gambling on some of these picks. CHAZZ SURRATT at the beginning of round 3. If I don't take SURRATT, there weren't many linebackers that I like left on the board, and it gets a little bit thin, at least for me right now, by the time they get to the back end of round 3. So get your votes in on this question now. What is the Cowboys' biggest need? Is it linebacker, corner, safety? Get your votes in. Let me know what you think. This is a compensatory draft pick, round 3. This is, again, Draft Network put in their projected comp picks. This is the Byron Jones pick. Andre CISCO, who I think you could see slide a little bit because he is coming off a torn ACL. He already declared for the draft. Many of you have asked me about CISCO before. I didn't think I was going to get him in round 3, but the safeties kept falling in the Draft Network mock draft simulation, so hey, I waited and got super lucky. He is a single high free safety with a knack for the football. 24 games. He has 14 pass breakups and 13 interceptions. That's pretty wild production to have more pass breakups and interceptions combined than you have games played. You don't see that very often. Now, CISCO can be a bit boom or bust at times, which happens, by the way, when you're that aggressive free safety. But it's okay if you get beat a little bit. If you're making that many plays on the football, I'm fine with it. CISCO comes in, and he could be the guy the Cowboys have not had in a very long time. An actual playmaker at safety. Seriously, when was the last time there was a guy that you thought, yeah, he might be able to get us 4 interceptions a year at any of the defensive back spots? Maybe Trevon Diggs, but I don't think he gets there this year now that he's banged up. So that's a really good sign for the Cowboys. If I can get him at the back end of round 3, sign me up. Now, I want you guys to sign up for BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see on your screen. That is Cowboys125. If you put down the minimum $100 deposit, it gets you that 125% deposit bonus. And for new BetUS customers only, when the Cowboys finally return to action against the Minnesota Vikings, if you bet on the Cowboys to cover against Minnesota, whatever the spread ends up being, and they don't cover, I will cover your bet loss up to $50. Email us at cowboys@chatsports.com. One more time, and I'll put that link in the comment or in the description, by the way. Cowboys@chatsports.com. If you have questions or want to sign up and deposit, and we'll help streamline the process for you. So that's chatsports.com/bet. The promo code is Cowboys125. Then email us, cowboys@chatsports.com, to get the bet cover deal. To round 4, Shaka Toney, one of the best names in this year's draft class. Round 4, pick number 104, so we're away from the comp picks here. Toney's the other Penn State edge rusher. I think he's a very athletic player, which is just all Penn State produces as of late. Not ideal size. I still think he is a little raw. There was a game in 2018 against Indiana in which he had 4 sacks, and I'm like, oh, this is the breakout moment. hasn't fully happened yet. But he does have 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss in just 2 games this year. So I'm very excited to see what Shaka Toney does the rest of the way for Penn State. And in round 4, yeah, I'll take a gamble on the high upside guy and see what he can end up being. Aldon Smith's a free agent. Even if he comes back, though, you know, he and Randy Gregory are both actually getting a little bit up there in age. They aren't the same young chickens that, you know, you might otherwise expect. Heck, Aldon is actually older than DeMarcus Lawrence. Gregory's going to turn 28, this year, so he's always a bit of a wild card, too. Can't fully trust him. I don't like Dorrance Armstrong. Bradley and Tony are very different edge rushers, and you always want more depth at that particular position. So I think as a kind of an undersized weight-wise, he's only 252, he does kind of fit more of that truer edge guy and less of the bigger build that the Cowboys have preferred in the past out of their guys. I like Shaka Toney. I'll take him in round 4. Another comp pick here, I found the Cowboys an offensive lineman. Again, if you're assuming Tyron Smith plays next year, which I believe the Cowboys are, then they're probably fine at tackle. Again, if Smith does miss some more time, you can get by with Brandon Knight. Ideally, I would have drafted an offensive tackle earlier. There really weren't any that I liked too much. I am not saying ignore the position altogether. But because I can't trade down, I don't have an extra top 100 pick to spend on a good offensive tackle who can actually be a super reliable swing guy, if not start as needed. I don't love Alaric Jackson, allowed 2 sacks, 5 hits, 11 hurries last year. Hasn't gotten a chance to play much for Iowa this year because, you know, Big 12, COVID, blah, blah, blah. Or Big 10, excuse me. I don't know if Jackson is really going to be a reliable left tackle. He might be someone who the NFL tries to kick inside to guard, but I'll at least try him here at round 4, late in round 4. Again, you're bringing back all 5 starters. Your free agents are Cam Irving and Joe Looney. Those guys have played sparingly this year for you, and you don't need it to draft a center. You have Brandon Knight. I know we don't love Terrence Steele, but you've at least been able to survive kind of with him. So tackle is a need, but I'm not going to spend a premium pick when I have to get all these picks going on the defensive side of the football. So Jackson checked in as my round 4 comp pick in this one. Now, we will keep you covered on everything around the Dallas Cowboys and the NFL draft. As the season moves on, we'll do more draft videos. It's mock draft week this week, and we'll do a couple of them for you guys overall. So if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss out on a single Cowboys or Cowboys draft video here on the channel. Another fun name here, USC safety Talanoa HUFANGA, who is not a single high guy. He's very different than Andre CISCO. But I think he'd be a good match with CISCO, and this is what he did back in 2019. 90 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, just 3 pass breakups, has never had an interception. Ball skills, deep end speed, or top end speed, isn't really his thing, but the Cowboys are trying to pull this. We're going to play Darian Thompson as a dime linebacker, and I hate it because he's bad. HUFANGA might actually be a better fit as that dime linebacker type. A number 3 safety comes in off the bench as a dime linebacker because you don't want the extra linebacker out there because they can't cover very well. I think HUFANGA has some ability against tight ends. I like that pick a lot in round 5. Another round 5 pick here, DEOMMODORE LENOIR, which is also a very fun name here. Mostly he's been an outside corner at Oregon. He's only played 1 game this year, so we'll see what ends up happening the rest of the way for him. I think he's better in zone. I think he's a willing tackler. Special teams value also comes into play here. And that does matter, by the way, as you get further along into the NFL draft because you're spending these barely top 200 picks. They got to help you on special teams. Even if you keep C.J. Goodwin, you probably want to have another option as a reliable special teams player. And if he's your CB4 or 5, you're actually probably doing okay. So I like LENOIR. Again, hasn't played very much this season, but we'll see what ends up happening on that one. All right, ALIM McNeill checks up next in here. 6th round pick, number 219 overall. Potential sleeper, I think, in the 2021 NFL draft. Got a good size, good build. Also has shown some real explosiveness. He does, however, need to do more against the passing game. The pass rushing productivity hasn't really been there throughout his time with NC State. 7 games this year, Only 16 tackles, but he does have 4 tackles for loss. Also ran a pick 6 back for a touchdown because, hey, fat guy touchdowns are a thing in college football. Haven't been so much for the Cowboys. I like him a decent amount as another potential Antwaun Woods, either replacement or partner, as more of a one-technique nose guard caliber player. I like that idea for the Cowboys. Good size, again, look, 6'2", 320 is what he's listed at. We'll see what he actually checks in at during the combine. If he does turn pro, I like the fit there for Dallas. Now, do you guys trust the Cowboys front office when it comes to the draft? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Last year, they finally let Will McClay and the scouts really have full control, and we all loved the draft. So just do that again, and my answer is Y for yes. Finally, round 7 here, pick number 224, C.J. Verdell. Well, why not go out and get another option here at the running back position? I didn't really love the guys that were available in round 7, but I think Verdell might be more of a household name here. Look, he brings some great value in the back end of round 7. I do want to see him a little bit more involved with the passing game. And in Oregon's offense last year, which certainly did benefit from having the best offensive line in college football, he averaged 6.2 yards per carry. He wasn't too involved in the passing game because the Oregon offense was one for cowards. But you know what? It's a 7th-round pick. Maybe he could beat Rico Dowdle to be RB3. If not, oh no, we missed on pick number 224 overall. Not really that big of a deal. You're more often than not going to miss that pick anyway. If he becomes RB3, then hey, you know what? That was a worthwhile investment. So I went with Verdell in round 7. To be honest, I was a little bit surprised that he lasted as long as he ended up going for. But hey, in round 7, why not? As a reminder, folks, email us cowboys@chatsports.com to get involved in that Cowboys bet cover deal against the Minnesota Vikings. That's cowboys@chatsports.com.